When finding the circumference of a circle, it's really important that you remember the formula. Circumference is, of course, the distance around the circle. Think of it as a soup label. You're taking that piece around, or a string around the circle. The formula for circumference, which is the circle's equivalent to perimeter, is pi times the diameter. In this case, we have a diameter of 5. The diameter is a line that passes through the center all the way from side to side. So it goes directly down the middle. It cuts the circle in half. So when we put the answer in terms of pi, it's a little bit more simple, especially when dealing with circumference. We have pi times the diameter. Well, in this case, our diameter is 5, so we have pi times 5. And when we write it in terms of pi, we write it as 5 pi. Oftentimes, you will be asked to estimate the circumference. In this case, we usually use either 3 14/100ths for pi, or we use the fraction 22/7. Anytime you have a multiple of 7, of course, you're going to want to use 22/7. That's usually easier. But in this case, we have 5, so we can estimate for pi 3.14, or 3 14/100ths. So in this case, when we estimate the circumference, now remember pi, of course, is an irrational number. It goes on forever. 3.14159, it goes on forever and ever. So we're just going to round to the hundredths place. Multiply 3 14/100ths by 5. 5 times 4 is 20. And we move our decimal 2 spots, 1, 2. So we can estimate the circumference is about 15 7/10 units. Now in this case it's not square units, because just like perimeter, circumference is not the area. It is units, not square units. Looking at this example when finding the circumference, let's say that this radius is 28 inches. Technically the formula is still the same. Circumference equals pi times the diameter. When we need a circumference, we use pi d. But when we have the radius, we have to find the d. Well, the diameter is 2 times the radius. So we often say circumference equals pi times the diameter, or we can say 2 pi r. And we just say 2 pi r because it rolls off the tongue better than 2r pi. But really what you're doing here is you're finding the diameter. So we can plug in what we know, and in this case, because we have radius, we'll just use this formula. Circumference equals 2 pi r. Substitute pi, and for the radius we have 28. We can combine 2 times 28. 28 doubled is 56 times pi. In terms of pi, 56 pi. When we estimate, if we said to estimate the circumference, then we could use either 3 14/100ths for pi, or 22/7 for pi. In this case, because we have 28, which is 56, we can plug in 22/7. I chose 22/7, of course, because when I multiply them together, I have fractions that can cross-cancel. So we have 7 going into 7 one time. 56 divided by 7 is 8. So then we have the circumference being about 8 times 22, which is 176 inches. Now again, it's not square units. They're just units because it's circumference, not area. And in our next tutorial, we will go over how to find the area of a circumference, or of a circle, which is similar to finding the circumference, but the formula is slightly different. And it's really important that you remember the difference between the two.